Hello everyone, thank you for attending this course. Today we will introduce one important sustainable fixed income instrument, green bonds. Given its relatively low financing costs and issuance requirements, green bonds have become crucial funding sources for green projects. Let's move on to the agenda. I will start with introducing various characteristics of green bonds, including the definition, market situation, and external verifications. And then I will summarize several important risk return characteristics for green bonds. And finally, I will use two quantitative papers to extend our discussions regarding the risk return profile and the impact of external reviews. The European Investment Bank was the first to issue green bonds to finance climate and environmental protection projects in 2007. And the EIB's climate awareness bonds issuance amounted to over 600 million at that time. After over 10 years of development, the cumulative issuance of green bonds has amounted to 754 billion or as of 2019, and the United States is the leading issuer, but the majority of the issuance is mortgage-backed security, which is issued by Fannie Mae and finances sustainable housing projects. But excluding mortgage-backed security, China is actually the biggest issuer. In terms of issuing entities, green bonds are issues in both the private sector, for instance, financial and non-financial corporations, and the public sector, for instance, sovereign and local governments. The top three issuers in 2019 are Fannie Mae, KfW, and Dutch State Treasury Agency. As aforementioned, Fannie Mae is a leading source of mortgage financing in the United States, and they mainly issue green mortgage-backed securities, which are a type of asset-backed securities. KfW is a German state-owned development bank, and finally, Dutch State's Treasury Agency represent the sovereign issuers. To be named as a green bond, the proceeds of the bond must be exclusively applied to finance or refinance in part or in full new or existing eligible green projects. According to Figure 3, private sectors such as financial and non-financial corporations tend to allocate more funds to energy and building industries. On the other hand, public sectors such as government-backed entities and local governments fund relatively high shares of transport, water, and waste projects. Anyway, energy and building industries are still the primary financing target. In principle, issuers are free to label their bonds as green as long as the green eligibility criteria of selected projects and the use of proceeds are comprehensively communicated to the investors. Some worldwide standards have been developed as an answer to greenwashing. There are several existing standards guiding the issuance of green bonds. The first one is the Climate Bond Standard developed by the Climate Bond Initiative, and this standard provides overarching guidelines on building pre-issuance framework, user proceeds examination, and post-issuance verification. Especially, they cooperate with professional verifiers to ensure that the bond complies with the post-issuance requirements of the climate bond standard. The second one is the Green Bonds Principle developed by the International Capital Market Association. And the principle focuses on continuous monitoring of the use of proceeds, and it is recommended that an issuer's management of proceeds be supplemented by the use of an external auditor or other third party to verify the internal tracking and the allocation of funds from the green bonds proceeds to eligible green projects. And finally, we have regional standards such as the European Union Green Bond Standards and the China Green Bonds Finance Community Standards. In summary, all standards are voluntary instead of compulsory. Applying them can be considered as a way of improving the credibility of green bonds issuance. And meanwhile, these standards deliver very general, broad information on the use of cash inflow of the issuer, but there is no control, usually no control afterwards. The current external review framework includes second-party opinion, third-party assurance, green bonds rating, and certification. And an institution which is specialized on environmental issues and independent from the issuer can provide a second-party opinion. It normally contains an assessment of the issuer's green objective, policy, and process, as well as a detailed evaluation of the green credentials of the underlying projects. The output includes an SPO label and a report with comprehensive elaboration of the assessment criteria and results. The main SPO providers include Cicero, Sustainalytics, Visual Iris, and ISSOCOM. Table 1 on page 9 summarizes their main methodology. You can read through it afterwards. Although they have different methods and different focuses, they in general follow the green bond principles. Generally, audit firms provide third-party assurance to check the alignment with internal and external standards and issuer claims respectively. They usually offer a bond issuance package including the assurance services. Traditional credit rating agencies, for instance, Moody's and S&P, provides green bonds rating services for issuers. They analyze issuers' environmental performance data quantitatively. After having some basic knowledge about green bonds, we now turn to their risk and return characteristics. In terms of yield or return, the results on the questions whether green bonds are enjoying a negative premium, suffering from a positive premium, or are indifferent from conventional bonds concerning yield to maturity are inconclusive. So a negative premium means that the end user bears the green cost in the form of a lower yield or higher price. We will discuss this point in the paper analysis session. And in terms of risk, the green bonds issuer provides investors with additional information regarding the environmental actions, which bridges the information gap and reduces both the risk of the underlying investment and the idiosyncratic risk of the issuer. And finally, under the condition that we acknowledge the existence of the negative green bonds premium, however, the observed premium is shrinking over time. Some researchers found on average minus 18%, 18 basis points green bonds premium, but the spread has reduced to minus 8 basis points in the paper, the milestone paper from Zerbib. And the follow paper, like from Palm, also found a severe risk spillover from conventional market to the green market, and this means the difference between green and conventional bonds is actually disappearing over time. Now we start our paper analysis part. This first paper named the effect of pro-environmental preferences on bond prices evidence from green bonds is written by Zerbib, who used the matching strategy to pair green bonds and conventional bonds and prove a negative green bonds premium. So as aforementioned, this quantitative research performs a matching method followed by a two-step regression method with the aim of excluding liquidity influence to estimate the yield differential between green bonds and conventional bonds. So in terms of data, the author starts with the entire sample of 1,000 green bonds complying the green bond principle indexed by Bloomberg on December 2017. Due to the missing data and the matching procedure, the final sample size shrinks to about 110 green bonds, and the period under review is from July 2013 to December 2017. The methodology implemented in this paper is very complicated. Here is a summary of what the author does and what his intentions are. And the paper first tries to pair each green bond with the most similar conventional bonds based on the following criteria. First, conventional bonds and green bonds should come from the same issuer, have the same bond structure, seniority, collateral, currency, and coupon type. Conventional bonds should also have an amount issued between 4 times smaller and 1/4 bigger than the issued amount of the green bonds. Conventional bonds should also have a date of issuance between 6 years earlier and 6 years later than the green bonds issuance dates, and also picked two best match and combine their yield through a linear function. And then the yield difference is calculated as a yield difference between the green and matched synthetic conventional bonds. After doing the matching procedure, the author uses bid-ask spread as a proxy of liquidity. To eliminate the latent liquidity difference, the author regressed the bid-ask spread on the yield difference and extracts the regression constant as the final green bonds premium. Finally, the author did some further regression analysis to check the determinants of the premium. And the most important finding of this paper is that investors' pro-environmental preferences induce a negative yield premium of 2 basis points on average for the entire sample and for the euro and US dollar bonds separately. And the author also found that this negative premium is more pronounced with specific determinants. One of them is a rating, and the second is the issuer type. This paper is basically the only green bonds paper published in a highly ranked A publication, and it has many interesting results. You can read through the paper and check them. The second paper, named Green Bonds and the External Review, is written by Lars Kaiser and colleagues who extended Zerbiv's methodology and included SPO into the discussion. So this quantitative research performs a matching method comparable to Zerbiv, and the study provides evidence on the existence of a green bond premium and delivers some understanding on the role of second-party opinion in the green bond market. And in terms of sample selection, we rely on data from Climate Bond Initiative. The initial sample of 5,000 green bonds issued between March 2010 to December 2019. And, and there are about 3,000 SS-backed securities and 500 municipal bonds were excluded, as the research concentrated on corporate bonds and valuation of sustainability and sustainable companies. Because of the data availability problem, the author ended up with 162 corporate green bonds then matched with 213 conventional bonds. So this sample is already much higher than the original paper. Zerbiv had only 110 sample. So we use exactly the same matching and premium calculation method as Zerbiv. The main difference lies in the determinants for premium regression. In consistence to existing studies, the SPO is the main independent variable in the regression, as it strongly influences investors' perception of the bonds as green and trustworthy. And meanwhile, the Refinitiv ESG scores environmental pillar score from the ESG from the Asset4 database is taken as a proxy of the issuer's ESG performance. So we use environmental score as a sorting criteria to investigate the impact of SPO on the green bonds premium across different environmental quantile. So this study found a significant green bond premium of minus 8%. Minus 8 basis points, and the average negative premium is driven by green bonds denominated in euro, and whereas US dollar denominated bonds yield a premium of positive 9% basis points. And the SPO has no impact on the green bonds premium when the issuer's environmental performance is high, and the SPO has a significant negative impact on the green bond premium when the issuer's environmental performance is low. And finally, SPO label and ESG score seems to be competing monitoring channels and takes different roles and have different signaling effects. So ESG score indicates firm overall environmental performance, and SPO evaluates a specific project for which the green bond is issued, and SPO takes on a critical role as a quality signal to investor for financing the transition towards a low carbon economy. So thank you so much for your attention. This is the end of the chapter, and see you next time.